Look, this was a wholly weird ceremony from the get-go because they had to push this all inside. It would have been weird outside too, but I think it was. I think the oddness of it was accentuated by the fact that it was inside. And I thought the speech was kind of objectively bad. It was no different than a campaign rally. We'll get into the substance of it, but just in terms of like the cadence of it, the oratory. I don't want to be overly critical, but I thought it was just an objectively unmemorable speech. I don't know. Did you guys feel similarly?
Well, I thought this. I don't know if it was unmemorable. I do think it was fundamentally un-American at its core, in that it was. Look, this is about Trump. Trump didn't actually put his hand on the Bible. It doesn't seem like. He forgot that, and it doesn't really seem like Trump was like in the tradition of the great inauguration speeches past. Is not like accepting the torch, right? In a long line of great men that were committed to our constitutional republic, and I'm the next person to pass it forward. Right? Like this is like the notion usually of inaugurations is to hearken back to our, the spirit of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the obligations and and the do not ask not what the country can do for you, right? Like these pains to a greater purpose that we all have, and that's not Trump. Trump specifically said today during his inauguration speech that this is a liberation, and to him this is a liberation from the people who had previously ruined the country. Right. So it's this weird contrast within America First and Make America Great Again. It's like, actually, no, it's that America was bad. Actually, America was fundamentally flawed, and the government was targeting you, and you didn't have free speech, and everybody was poor. And only now may I liberate you. Like the way that you would talk about it if it was, a free leader overtaking a despot. And that's how he treated
That was my point,
speech.
Tim. It's like the oratory was just not. Again, I think we're saying the same thing. I thought the oratory was just bad. I thought whoever wrote the speech, that could have been delivered on election night. That could have been delivered at any point during the campaign. It was not a speech for the moment. Not that he ever rises necessarily to the moment.
It was pretty close to his Mount Rushmore speech, actually. It's Jonathan Martin mentioned that, like just the themes and what he talked about, which was a campaign speech. There was a very I should say, well, there was not an ode to the founders and to democratic principles and to the country. There was an ode to McKinley, President McKinley, because of his great tariffs and how he should get his mountain back. So that was in there. Sarah, welcome.
Hey, Sarah.
You happy? I think I'm in hell is how I started this. And so how you being here is a mark against that, I guess. I don't think we'd be in hell together.
Sarah, what did you think of it?
But you guys are going to have to tell me. My Wi-Fi is kind of janky where I am. I'm at an undisclosed location. So if you're like, Sarah,
Yeah, your Wi-Fi is janky. That's for sure. You are janky. Jump out, come back in when you get it fixed. We'll hold down the fort for you in a little bit, okay?
I don't know if it's going to get fixed.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Sonny, what did you make of it?
I mean, it's just a low energy speech. This is always his worst format, right? Where he's reading off a teleprompter. The only time he ever looked interested in what he was talking about was when he said Liberation Day. It was very weird. Liberation Day.
Panama Canal.
Which
he did get the most energized he was talking about Panama. For sure.
Panama Canal too. But like it was just this weird inflection in his voice, which makes me think it's the only line in the speech he wrote. He was like, I want to have this line in there, and that will be. No, I mean it's. What was it that Bush said about the first one back in 2016? That was some weird shit. This was less weird, right? This is not the American carnage speech, I don't think. Right. I think it's a notch above that. Thank God. So I'll give him credit for that. But it definitely it's a low energy, very boring speech that's just checking off a bunch of things that his supporters have wanted. Yeah, like dedicating time to two genders. Like, okay, fine. Like, is that really the thing? Dedicate. I will say I am. While I think the Gulf of America is stupid, that's a stupid name for the Gulf of Mexico. am pro going back to Mount McKinley. It just rolls better off the tongue than Denali. I don't know. I like it was a very boring speech. Really, it was really what it was. I mean, it was not entertaining to watch. I thought for some reason I had thought he was going to deliver this speech or a speech in front of the crowd at Capital One later, and I think that will probably be more his milieu because he'll what's he called, the weave. He'll be doing the weave. He'll be riffing, and
right. He gave a speech last night for that crowd. I'm not totally certain he's gonna do another. Well, he probably will do another speech. He's got to do the lunch, then he's going to Capital One Arena, then he's got to go to the White House to sign the executive orders. Although some of them will be signed at the arena because they got one of those small desks there. I will also say I thought there was a lot of weird. The pageantry and also the organization of the speech itself, not weird, but it was profoundly interesting the way that they set up the audience. And a metaphor, obviously, Tim, you noted it on X, but to put the tech titans and their spouses there in front of the actual cabinet, that was a choice. And also, it was also sort of observed that it kind of, in a way, to me, is a rare misstep, I think, in terms of Trump, and because he's very good at playing sort of the populist politics. I would have imagined that he would have had a section cordoned off for the working man or his supporters in there, right? But no. As just a sheer political, political matter.
That's so 2016. The forgotten man. The forgotten man's forgotten.
That would have been a smart. I think that would have been a smart move by him. He didn't do it. The setup was the tech oligarchs, prominence, the cabinet right behind them, even some governors. It was reported like Brian Kemp, Ron DeSantis. They were in the overflow room. It was a wild setup.
Yeah, no, I did talk about this over there, and I think that it's probably the most politically significant thing from the speech, despite the important renaming of the Gulf of Mexico. Just because. Look, it sets up. There's a guy who's pretty left for me, Lee Fang, who's kind of a populist left, Bernie type. Yeah, he's kind of a Bernie type, right? So
quite left for you, yes.
Yeah, quite left for me. But he wrote this, and I thought it was interesting because a lot of folks on the populist left have been sort of MAGA curious, right? We're kind of seeing what might come of this next administration, just kind of in an enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. But he wrote this: over the next decade, Silicon Valley will replace blue and white collar workers with AI and outsource more jobs overseas. Truckers, designers, engineers, lawyers, and far more. Power will flow to the dozen tech overlords standing next to Trump at his inauguration. Ominous optics. I think that pretty much covers it, right? It's one of those things where the optics are bad just on their face, right? That this is supposed to be a working man's party and you have the richest people in the world. The corruptibility is obvious on its face, right? Like we have these rich guys who were, pretending to do resistance stuff at this time in 2017. Like the Google CEO is right there in this picture, Sundar. Like back in 2017, it was like, workers of Google unite. We will protest against Trump. And now it's like, okay, I'm in the first row of the Trump inauguration. So like the deal making the corruptibility is obvious. But I think that the longest term ramifications is I do think the images may have staying power because as we go through this disruption of AI, many in Silicon Valley are going to be very happy with the Trump administration's deregulated approach to such things. But the people that suffer the consequences of it are not. And there are these kind of parallels. It's a funny contrast to trade, right? Like the last globalist disruption that we had was this thing that kind of powers Trumpism, right? Like, NAFTA and globalism and like this sense that a lot of people were displaced by jobs. It's kind of what powers Trumpism. And there doesn't seem to be any recognition of that in the speech or the optics of that.
You can forward it a little bit even more to the concentration of wealth by the big banks. And then of course, the financial crisis. And then that launches the Tea Party, which then bleeds into Trumpism. But yeah, we're seeing an uber concentration of wealth right behind Trump.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting what did Trump kind of focus on in this speech in terms of jobs and work, right? He was like, we are gonna drill, baby, drill. We're gonna liquid natural gas. That's our gold. That's underneath the ocean. Like fairly traditional sort of, blue collar type job, right? Car manufacturing. Our great car manufacturers who are so great in supporting me in the election. Our car workers there. We're gonna get rid of the electric car mandate. We're gonna bring it back. Blah blah. No talk whatsoever of tech, tech dominance, tech.
Right.
Like they mentioned
excellence.
Mars.
I mean, what's that?
He mentioned Mars. Getting to
Well,
Mars.
Mars is different. Mars is like astronauts and exploration. I feel like that's
But
closer.
all those
to
tech guys,
traditional,
all those tech guys own rocket companies. By the way,
Sure.
before we move on quickly, Barry Rubin is in our comments section. I just want to be clear. He keeps asking, "Where is Sam's plant?" Barry Rubin took my plant.
Okay.
And I just want Barry to stop commenting in the section.
Thank you.
Right,
Watch out, Barry. I got something I want to say about the Lee thought that the tech overlords there were ominous. There was a different part that I felt like was pretty ominous, and it was related to Panama. The Panama thing might seem silly, but stick with me for a second.
Sure.
He talks about how how we're going to do an emergency at the border, which is like it's hard to figure out what the rationale for that is right now. Like border crossings are down. The emergency that he declared at the border last time was related to COVID. It was a public health emergency, not letting people with their diseased COVID breath come into the country was the ostensible reason for it. There is no real reason for the emergency right now. So I think it is just pretty concerning from like a rule of law standpoint. Like, what is the basis for this emergency? What kind of powers is he going to employ? I think that there's going to be, obviously Adrian Carrasquillo has been doing a lot of reporting for that on us and more to come. But if you combine that with just the anger in his voice about Panama, like we said this was such a low energy speech, and it's like the Chinese, we gave the Panama Canal back to the Panamanians, but the Chinese have taken it and we're going to get it back. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like angry Trump deciding like he needs to get the Panama Canal back and deciding he needs to totally shut down the border. Like for to me, I think that this is going to be something to monitor as far as things that can get out of control unintentionally. I think that a lot of American people are happy about deportations, particularly of criminals. I'm for deportation of criminals. I don't know that like war in Mexico and Central America is really something that people are going to play out. Now, maybe Sonny's pro that. He does like invasions.
Well, I do love wars, and I love. What jumped out to me about the border thing was designating the cartels as terror orgs, which I know has been long in the talk, lots of discussion about that, and it always makes me. I can't imagine he actually watched the movie Sicario, but I imagine him watching Sicario and being like, "Yes, that's what we should be doing." But like when we talk about things spiraling out of control very quickly, like when you start saying, "Okay, drug cartels are terror orgs. Okay, we can treat them like we treat Al Qaeda. Okay, that's right across the border. It's not in Pakistan. It's not in the mountains of Afghanistan.
Right.
Like." Things have a possibility, and I wouldn't say it's a likely thing necessarily, but there's a possibility of things getting very out of control there very quickly.
You don't say. If you start bombing what you suspect to be cartel operations in Mexico, that could get out of control very quickly.
I've got another rant, Sam, if you're ready.
Well, just
you
want to
watch this. So
hold on one second. Yeah. To your point about the situation in Mexico, first of all, everyone should both subscribe to our YouTube page, but also sign up for Adrian's newsletter, Huddled Masses. He's been writing about the stuff he's got. He's going to be covering all the executive orders today. I was surprised by the numbers. You referenced it. The Washington Post put up these numbers. Border got out of control first couple of years of Biden's term, but the last year, real progress has been made. Legal crossings at the U.S.-Mexico border dropped more than 80% in 2024. Over the past few weeks, number of migrants taken into custody along the border has fallen to roughly 1,000 per day. That's a level lower, far lower, the Post says, than when Trump left office 4 years ago. So he's actually inheriting an improving situation, but I think because it's such an omnipresent part of his political pitch, we should expect some dramatic actions. What we are waiting to see is what kind of domestic enforcement he's going to pursue, because they've been teasing raids in predominantly blue cities and states, if not exclusively. Don't know when that's going to happen. Also, birthright citizenship. Didn't mention it in the speech, but they did tease an executive action to end birthright citizenship. Unclear how they do that legally, but we'll see. Anyways, go ahead, Tim.
Well, no, it's clearly illegal, but they're going to try to do it anyway, and then fight through the courts, and it's in the Constitution.
See if the Supreme Court gives.
I know it feels like the Constitution is a farce right now, but it is still the law of the land, for the time being, and it's right there in plain text. Right. So going after birthright citizenship, and just one more thing on to me, it's like, what powers are they taking with the emergency at the border? Like, that is the thing to watch. Like, saying there's an emergency, whatever, right? Doing deportations, okay, like that was going to happen. But what powers are they granting? That should be only granted by Congress. Like that's going to be something to watch on the border. The other thing that pisses me off about today, and just like the whole farce of it all, is I'm so sick of this. Like the Democrats are going to just kind of on the surface go do business as usual stuff. And then we'll talk in a second about Biden, some of his actual actions, which are not business as usual. Yeah. But like the way they treat it, like Joe Biden welcomes them to the White House, smiles, says "Welcome home." Didn't really like that. Welcome. Is that really necessary? They have tea together.
Home.
Yeah, welcome they go home. They travel together to the Capitol, and Biden's are treating Donald Trump much more warmly than they've treated Nancy Pelosi.
I don't mind him going to the Capitol. I honestly don't. But
okay, you cannot mind it. I just let me finish the contrast though. So they're doing that's how they are acting. Michelle did skip, but a lot of these other people coming in, standing behind him, clapping at certain times. Then Obama walks in, and the people at Capitol Arena start booing. Like it's a fucking Eagles game or something. And then Trump starts to speak, and there's no the decorum does not go two ways. There's no I just want to say I appreciate the president and the vice president for the way that they've handled this transition in a much more honorable way than I did in 2020. They've been good to our team on the way in. They welcomed me for tea. Dr. Jill is a great woman. Like none of that. He then starts ripping them. And talking about how he's going to undo everything they did and how they've ruined the country. And
what do you think of Franklin Graham?
And then, during the invocation, Franklin Graham starts talking about Trump's enemies that have been defeated.
Last 4 years were pretty dark, is what he said. Biden's right over his shoulder. And
so anyway, I don't have any deeper thoughts except for it just it gives the whole scene just a farcical sense to me, which I don't understand why there's certain people that are like, we're just going to go around and we're going to do the battle hymn of the Republic. It's we're going to pretend like everything's great. And then Donald Trump is like, fuck you. We're taking
asymmetrical. It's asymmetrical warfare, buddy. Yeah. That's what it's.
Well, this has always been our problem, right? Is that we believe in things like norms and decorum and are up against somebody who does not, and it's a real problem for us. And I don't want to change who I am. I'm a very big believer in if you make yourself he's the real winner. But fuck, it gets tiring. It gets
well, and then you add Biden into the equation, who makes the argument that much harder. Literally minutes before Trump is sworn in, he pardons his siblings and their spouses. Yeah. I mean. What are we doing here?
This is my issue with the norms thing. It's if Joe Biden wants to be I'm going to be the protector of norms.
Right.
All right. And as part of that, I'm going to welcome Donald Trump to the White House and do tea and crumpets and do smiling and go to the inauguration and pretend like everything's normal. Okay. But then your actions also have to be that. It's strange for me that Joe Biden cares about norms when it comes to just playing nicey nice with Trump, but doesn't care about norms when he's creating an imaginary new amendment to the Constitution, pardoning his brother, who I think maybe committed some crimes, by the way, and then at least allegedly, and then pre-pardoned some of his other family members. It's you're sticking the rest of us with the Trump shit sandwich while you're pardoning your family. And then you're making smiley with Trump. Okay, I could understand people being like, well, Tim, wouldn't you pardon your family if you were really scared that Donald Trump was coming after them? Then I'd say yes. Okay, then be consistent. If you think Donald Trump is going to do extrajudicial attacks on your family, then you don't welcome him to the White House and say, hey, pal, great job. Welcome home.
Yeah.
All right. So or if you think that he is going to be a normal president, then you don't give pre-pardons to your family. Right, there's no, it's a disconnect.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. And frankly, I know it's hard to see it in the moment, but Democrats are going to be a lot better off and liberated to go after Trump with Biden out of the picture. They just will be. I think not having him hovering over everything will make it a lot easier for them. And you're already seeing it a little bit today. They were some commentary about, all the tech oligarchs on the platform or the dais and all that stuff. There was a line in this that I think might come back to, there's a few things in here that I think could come back to haunt Trump. But one thing that kind of didn't get a lot of attention, but he was talking about inflation. He didn't just pledge to stop inflation. He said he's going to bring down costs rapidly, which is setting a line in the sand that I don't think any real economist is out there is like, oh yeah, we can be deflationary. So I think Trump set himself up for a little bit of, letdown, but who knows? Does it matter? I don't know.
Again, you're operating on this idea that like he says things and then he has to do the things, and if he doesn't do the things, his supporters will be mad at him. And like that's not the universe in which he lives. It does not.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter
the
if he
cost
does.
of goods. I feel like the cost of goods might precede that, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think eggs are probably going to be 50 cents more expensive in 3 weeks because there's shut down egg production in Georgia because of avian flu. Like things are going to be bad. Price of eggs will necessitate the overthrowing of this entire toppling of this whole regime. But like but nobody's going to care. Nobody's actually going to care. Nobody's going to blame Trump for this. What will happen is they will listen to the Fox News reports that are like, turns out there's a really bad avian flu and that's why the price of eggs are up.
Well, I agree with Sonny.
I will say no one blamed Trump for not solving the Ukraine war prior to his inauguration, which he pledged to. So there's truth to that, I guess.
Look, I agree with Sonny, and I have a repetitive comment that people are going to get tired of hearing me say on this YouTube, but I'm going to say it all here, which is you can say that the things that are bad without having to discuss whether or not there are positive political implications for the Democrats. Like, I'm so sick of every question being like, will this help? Will this be the thing that harms Trump? Like, I don't care. If Trump does bad things, I'm going to talk about it's bad, and we'll see what happens as Trump likes to say in the midterms.
What is the situation
but as far as this is concerned, I do think, like, look, this goes back to what we talked about at the top with the very, and because we wanted to cover everything, I don't think we really sat with this. Like how fucking insane it is that Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, and Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, and Elon, who owns X, and like that they're just sitting next to him like they are the honored guests. Like this is Belarus, and you have your chosen oligarchs that get to sit next to you. It's very strange, and I do think that the people that watch Fox, are not going to be moved by a 20-cent increase in the price of eggs. But I do think that if and when there are negative consequences that affect people's lives, whatever those be, economic or immigration or otherwise, and the perception that actually Donald Trump really got in there and what he cared about was being loved by the richest people in the world, I do think that eventually has an impact outside, in that with the key group, remember, that Trump did well with was not just Fox News people. It's people that don't watch the news.
Right.
And people that don't watch the news, are fickle.
Maybe there is something to that because it will take time to build up this opposition. But what I noticed, which was kind of interesting over the past week, was that some of the real pushback to Trump was coming from Breitbart. Over this stuff, the tech oligarchy relationships, the reversal on TikTok, for instance. Map Oil was like, why are you doing this? Like, why get in bed with the CCP? Like, what is the point of that? Obviously, Bannon and Musk have, some real issues, and then H-1B visas, right? Like, so there is a chance. I don't think it's going to happen instantaneously. Nothing like that. There's no it's never going to be quick, but you do see the real tension points starting to form here, where it's like the populist right, the tech oligarchs, they're in this nice coalition for the time being. Can it last?
I have a serious question though, Sam. Do you think it matters at all to Trump? Because he's not running for election again. It's not like he's going to be president. He doesn't have to, massage and manage that part of the coalition, right? He doesn't have to say to the forgotten man, "You're not forgotten. We're getting rid of all these H-1B visas."
That raises a really interesting point, which is, I think, and this is just my prediction here, but the first 18 months are going to be very, very obviously important. It's going to be a mad sprint. And then what comes after that is going to be incredibly messy because you're going to have divergent coalitions inside the tent trying to position themselves as the inheritor to Trump. And Trump was kind of checked out at that point, basically. And also the thing that people don't really appreciate about Trump is that the guy who got famous for saying you're fired is like incredibly indecisive on that stuff. And I don't think he's going to want to put his finger on one camp or the other unless he has to. So I do think it matters, but I don't think it matters right away. I think down the road, we're going to have a really nasty split at some point is my prediction.
You know what I think matters? That our democracy has become a total farce. And the person that instigated an attack on the Capitol just was inaugurated again in the same room where his supporters smeared shit on the walls. So that's like one thing I think that definitely matters. And that he had the richest people in the world standing beside him as he tries to turn our government into
all of whom were pissed about January 6th. All of whom went out there and said January 6th was a horrible, horrible day.
So like I'm sure that matters. Besides that, TBD. We'll see.
Damn, dude. Damn.
Yeah, I'm in a bad place. You made me come do this, so here we are.
We made you watch too. We made you watch the speech.
You made me watch. Making me watch this was the real crime. Because like mentally, yesterday I tried to take a break from this, and I went to go. I watched some football. I had a couple of meetings with some friends I hadn't seen in a while, and I went to see a concert. And I was like, mentally, I was like, I can do this. I can do a podcast. I can talk about this on TV tomorrow. What I did not mentally prepare for was watching it. The talking I can handle because then I get to vent. The watching was bad, and you did that to me. You made me watch it.
This is like, I mean, it is the inauguration. Like,
Triangular Planet asked if JVL is doing okay. Good on JVL, by the way. He has like 19 children, and they have the day off, and so he was like, "I'm going to parent today and not watch this," and I'm fucking jealous.
He got his snowblower out. He was snowblowing his whole driveway. He is checked out of the world.
See, this is, I guess maybe this makes me like a freak, but like I want to watch this shit. And on election night, I was like, let's go. Let's fucking do this.
You're
and
a freak.
You guys are just like, no.
No doubt. You're a freak. Yeah. Just
I mean,
concur.
look at
Speaking of freaks, look at Melania's outfit.
I have the same hat. I have the same hat.
Like, how is this America? What is happening? These people, the Make America First Again people all do seem to have like a foreign fetish when it comes to other things. Ivanka's outfit was very foreign.
No, Ivanka looked like she was at the Kentucky Derby or something.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, Ivanka looks like she's in the French Resistance right now.
French Resistance,
like,
yeah.
She looked like she was. But I love Melania's hat because you could only see half her face. It's like it's frankly bizarre. I've never seen anything like this at a inauguration style event.
I'm sorry to go back to the Biden thing, Sam, but since you two are the ones that are happy with the norms abiding, like why are they still together? He's not president anymore. It's over. He's the same as Obama and Bush. Go home. Go on to Delaware.
He's got a helicopter waiting for him. He should go.
Go to the beach. Do we have to do this? Like, why?
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, take down that picture.
Outfits.
I want to see
Thank
Biden.
you, Sebastian. Look at those outfits.
Oh, is that Harris hugging Jill? Yes, that's Kamala Harris hugging Jill. Doug talking to Joe. They're saying their final goodbyes. Not their final goodbyes. For now, goodbyes. And then you're going to see them take off. This is the process where they take off. They get into a helicopter. They peace out. Trump did not participate in any of this 4 years ago because he was a big baby and his attempt to overthrow the government.
The norms. He doesn't care about norms. It didn't hurt him at all.
And the good thing is you learn. All of us have small children. And so when they act like children and have temper tantrums, like the right thing to do is really reward them. For that. It's like they have a temper tantrum, and then the right thing to do is like give them candy and ice cream and say you don't have to go to sleep tonight. That's what we've done with Donald Trump.
Right. So JD and Usha Vance, they're saying goodbye to Kamala Harris. I'm sure that was incredibly awkward. And then you have Biden, Jill, smiling, Trump, Melania, hanging out, just chilling, a little cold, but not cold enough. And then they'll get going.
No thanks, by the way, to the commenters who are not happy with the Biden bashing. Biden's behavior today and this year has been disgraceful. And Jill's behavior has been disgraceful. And they are as responsible as anybody for why I have to sit here and watch this today. Sam is number 2 because he forced me to watch it. And I guess that neither of them are. Number one is Mitch McConnell and the Republican senators for not fucking impeaching and convicting him when they should have. But the Bidens are on the list, and everybody on the list that was responsible for me having to sit and watch this, I'm going to give shit to. Sorry.
That's fine. It's totally fair. I think Biden has really sullied his reputation, especially over the past couple weeks. Just a slew of ridiculous actions that you just can't really defend. All right, here we go. Walking, toodles, goodbye. Trump. Let's go quickly to Trump. He says he wants to be a peacemaker and a unifier and lead with compassion.
He did? When was that? Was that in the speech?
It was in the speech, man.
I must have blacked out during that part.
He's a peacemaker and a unifier. Will lead with compassion. I believe him.
Yeah,
I don't believe him. I don't think
makes sense.
No, words don't matter anymore. Is something that is something you have to get used to.
Yeah, it was like I'm a unifier, and then like the other half of the speech was like, screw the trans people. So, there you go. All right, this is our last look at Jill and Joe as they board Marine One. I think they're going to California for a little break after this. Yeah.
Someone asked about the Kinzinger. I have texted Adam today. He's not thrilled, as you guys might imagine. So
did he get a pardon or no?
He did.
He did. Okay.
And he's just simply
I think it was
kind of
everybody on the
retweeted
Jan
it.
6 commission.
It was a blanket. Everyone on the committee. Okay.
He said he was very clear previously that he did not ask for one. So
he didn't want one.
He did not want one. So we'll just leave it at that. But
I
I've talked to Adam. I've proof of life via text message on Adam Kinzinger.
Yeah, I mean, what did you make of the pardons, Tim? Not the family pardons, just for the J6 people.
Yeah, me and Bill talked about this on the pod today quite a bit, so you can get the longer answer over there on that stream when we're finished if people want to. The short of it was, I'm genuinely torn. I was for him originally, and so just in order of full transparency,
sure.
Like I was emotionally for them, and then after talking to Adam and a couple of other people who gave me private feedback about why they didn't want one, I kind of changed my mind towards being against them. And I think that, because it quasi signals guilt, even if they say it doesn't. Right. And on top of that, we know that Donald Trump will never be held accountable for his actions, unfortunately, but I retain some hope that we have a constitution and rule of law in 2029, and some people around him might be held accountable in the future for their actions. And this seems to, give some cover for that not happening, which probably wouldn't have happened anyway. So I don't put a ton of weight in that. Hey, long story short, I think it's complicated. It's a tough call. I leaned against, but I kind of get it.
What do you think, Sonny?
I'm curious, Tim. I'm curious. What specifically were the folks saying who didn't want one? Just that they didn't want people to say like, "Oh, look at these guilty people taking pardons." I mean, because
yeah.
This is one of these things where I'm like, well, who cares what idiots say?
Right.
Like, if I were on the January 6th committee, I would very much like to not have to deal with, the hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal bills that will undoubtedly rack up if there are weird, spurious, attempts to try.
Yeah, Adam's argument was more like the bring it on argument. I didn't do anything wrong. I respect the chutzpah, though I understand your point of view on that, Sonny. So he didn't pardon these other folks. I don't want to bring any additional unwanted attention to anyone, but their case was that they didn't want to be put into the spotlight. Like they were concerned more about crazy people than about, they're like, if I didn't do anything, I'm innocent. I'm more concerned about a target being put on my back than I am about like
a sort of accidental enemies list.
Yeah, being charged. And so in those cases, Biden didn't do that. He just pardoned, Fauci, Milley, and the January 6th committee. So maybe cuts that both ways a little bit. Though just is in the interest of just fairness, because I do think this one is a complex and a tougher call. Alex Vindman's wife was expressed displeasure on publicly that he wasn't on the list. So there was
why wasn't he?
Wanted it.
Do we know why he wasn't?
I don't. I really don't. I don't have any private info on that. I saw her.
This is obviously it won't happen, but like there has to be some sort of reform around the pardon process. It's out of control, and people were dredging it up, but it's valid. 2020, Biden was out there asked about Trump doing preemptive pardons for him, his kids, and Rudy Giuliani and the like, and he's like, that makes that troubles me.
Yeah.
It's a bad precedent. And someone made a suggestion, I don't forget who, but it's like the simplest, elegant solution here is you can only make it so you can only pardon someone up to election day. I mean, that way the voters at least get to weigh in on how
No lame duck pardons.
Yeah,
Oh, I like that. That's a good
how
idea.
callous and immoral your pardons are.
I'm not
Right.
a constitutional.
Although I
scholar,
guess
but
I
that
suppose Biden would have
require
just pardoned his siblings like on
That would require an
the
amendment.
morning of the vote. Yeah,
I mean,
But,
like anything here would require an amendment, which will never happen anyway. So
Right.
unless I don't know, Trump decides at the end of his presidency, here's a new amendment, we'll do.
Right.
There were some comments, Sam, asking about the weather. I'm not in DC. You are.
I was in it.
Doesn't look that cold. I mean, I was
it
watching
was
football
brisk.
all
It's
weekend. There were
brisk, but it's fine. They could have done outside.
full
They
stadiums out there in Buffalo. Of
Yeah,
people.
no, they could have done outside. It would have been cold, but like honestly, it was doable. And
So you're saying that?
don't use the word again. Don't do
You're
it.
saying that Trump's a?
Don't do it. I know we're in the Trump presidency now, but
You're
you
not
don't have
saying
to
that?
do it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying it. I ain't saying it.
Seems like he kind of is a little bit of a. Yeah.
Can I switch gears a little bit? We saw Vivek Ramaswamy in the audience today. I was a little surprised. Thought he was done with Doge, but Vivek sticking
Running
around
for
for
governor.
He posted a picture of him and Elon on X.
Oh,
the
they're
Earth
good.
Snap.
They're good.
They're
Just want to
best
be.
friends.
Yeah, clearly.
You can tell Elon was thrilled to be in that picture. You could tell.
Vivek did the first cut. Was Vivek? Sad.
Didn't even make it a full Scaramucci.
No, he made him multiple scare movies. Come on.
He
Scare movies
didn't
10
even
days.
start. He got 0 days.
Oh, I guess. But from the moment he was formally announced as, yeah, you're right. They didn't actually start. Not even a Scaramouche. What happened there? I guess they just didn't get along. I don't know.
I get the sense Vivek is a very annoying person, just in general. And like even in this world of very annoying people, I get the sense he is particularly annoying, and people don't like to be around him. But I don't know him, so maybe I'm just judging by his
I
presence.
think once you
in the
go
world.
after Zach Morris,
It's
just done. You can't recover.
I gotta tell you, man, that was one of the most baffling analogies I've ever seen in my life.
Zach
Sam-
Morris, Urkel. Yeah,
Sam,
what?
you're doing a great job managing this, but I need a cigarette or
You heading
something
out?
or something heavier than this. I do want to say to people that today and tomorrow we're offering 2 months free of Bulwark Plus. You can go to
nice.
thebulwark.com/subscribe to get it now. You'll get exclusive content from our team, ad-free commentary, and much more. And it seems like a good time to join because I need emotional support, friends, to discuss my despair.
Actually,
And,
let me use this as a jumping off point to talk about what we're going to be doing here at the Bulwark for the next couple months, so that
Great.
people can understand what we're subscribed to. If you need to go take a smoke,
No, I'll stick it out. I'm just
stick it out.
I was
I
trying
get you.
to.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think
There's only so much I can take, is all I'm saying. But I can. Do
I'm in the middle of dry January, and it sucks.
Not me.
I
I
was
had a
talking
wet
with my wife
Sunday.
last night about whether we should just give up.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
give
like
up.
feels like it. All right. So here's what we're doing at the Bulwark. Here's why you should join. Again, to Tim's point, sign up and get 2 months free. It's awesome. It's a great product. YouTube. We are putting so many resources into what we're doing on YouTube. We are growing the channel. We're doing a lot more commentary, a lot more analysis, a lot more instant reactions. Our feed is growing. It's robust. We want people to subscribe to it, but also to share the clips. They're fantastic. On the written side of things, we are taking the money we get from subscriptions and from your generous support, and we're not just pocketing it, although maybe Tim is, and I don't know about it. We are investing it into actual reporting resources. So we have just launched the Huddle Masses newsletter, which is honestly, I think, a really important news product and unique. It is a newsletter dedicated to covering comprehensively the Trump deportation regime. Adrian's been doing fantastic work with it, laying the groundwork for what's to come. He's had a few banger newsletters already. And then on top of that, he's going to be reporting both what's happening in DC, but also across the country, covering the border, covering what's happening in the cities, covering the immigration rates, covering the characters in Trump world who are facilitating all of this. That's just one of these things. We are, and I want to tease it without giving away too much, we at least have 2 more potentially newsletter products that we're launching. One that will look at the Democratic Party, and how it figures out its way through this wilderness. And the second, which looks at the alt-right and what they do in the era of Trump. But this is just basic journalism. It's accountability journalism. It's what we desperately need, frankly, as some of our leading media institutions are trying to recalibrate. We think we need to hold people accountable.
Recalibrate's a nice thing to say when the owner of the Washington Post was buddying up with Stephen Miller on the front row of the inauguration.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to be kind about
Calibrate is a nice word.
Point being, support the mission, and we are going to get those resources back into what is needed, which is quality accountability journalism. Go ahead.
Are you going to defend Jeff Bezos? Because, by the way, I just want to say,
I'm not.
I love Amazon. Great product. Amazon Prime is a great product. He brought a lot of happiness to us. I don't know why he didn't enter the journalism space if he was going to start, if he was going to just totally flip back and forth to suck up to whoever the new president is. It feels like a mistake. The journalists are supposed to be hostile to the people in power.
That does feel like a mistake. No, what I was going to say is I just wanted to give a lot of praise to our YouTube folks. I don't do a ton of stuff on the YouTube side. I do some of the live things and some reaction videos and stuff, but the amount of work you guys put on the YouTube page just on an everyday basis is amazing. What are we up to? 900,000 subscribers now? Crazy.
Almost.
It's a real testament to the work you guys are doing there. It's great, accessible.
Thank you.
Free. Like that, you don't have to sign up for Bulwark Plus for that. You should sign up for Bulwark Plus, but the YouTube stuff is all there for free. So